Hi guys, this is Orchid. Hope you're all doing well. My project today is something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. Install wall moldings in my living room. I knew that this was going to be very labor intensive, that it's going to take a lot of time, which is why I've always put it off. But this is where you can get a lot of bang for your buck. And I will tell you right up front that this cost me $400, and that was primarily the cost of the moldings. Now, I've done a little molding work myself. I've installed baseboard with the shoe molding. I have installed crown moldings, and I added a half-inch strip to kind of beef it up somewhat. I have also installed the fluted molding around the entrance into the dining room. I also added that rosette to it. And at the bottom, from reading books about, the different styles, I saw this piece that they put at the bottom. I think it's called a plinth. I'll just verify to make sure I'm saying the right thing. I really do love this look. It gives it a really traditional yet a slightly modern look. I also added this piece above the door that leads into the foyer. It's on both sides of the door. So these are little things that you can do to kind of enhance, the character of your room, and they don't cost a lot. So what you're seeing now is the actual wall molding that I chose. Well, actually, there wasn't much to choose from at Home Depot. I like it because it's very simple. It was $1.23 per foot. Now, the tools that you'll need for this project, you're definitely going to need a spirit level. And this one I think is about 4 foot long, 4 feet. And there are going to be sections of walls that it may be a little too long, so you may need a shorter one. I found myself in that situation, so what I did was I just used a shorter wooden ruler. This one was 36 inches, and I would just hold that up on the wall with a shorter, much shorter level. Of course, you'll need a pencil, a sharpener, and an eraser, because you'll be doing a lot of erasing, trust me. I generally like to live with a design before I make a commitment, so I use this Scotch tape. Don't use the blue one, guys. It costs twice as much as this one, and this does the job. And of course, you're going to need your tape measure. In terms of adding the molding to the wall, you can glue it, or you can use I would recommend you using a nailer rather than hammering finishing nails yourself, because you may damage the surface of the molding. Cutting, I'm using a 7-inch miter saw, and I always tell DIYers it's a really good investment, a miter saw and a nailer. The last thing you'll do once you're done installing the moldings is caulking, and this is what's going to make your finished look really professional. And this is also, for me, the most tedious part of this project. I hated this part of it. This project took me an entire week. Now, there are many different styles you can choose. I started with the idea of doing 3 boxes on the smaller walls and probably 4 on the larger wall where the sofa sits. But then I realized that more boxes, it costs more, but also that it tends to look a little more dated when you have smaller boxes. It looks a little crowded to me also. Then I came upon this style, and I really liked it, but I realized that I'll be doing a lot of cutting in the middle and at the bottom. Where I would be cutting 1 piece, I'm cutting 5 pieces. So I kind of amended it somewhat and just did it in the middle. Also, with this style, you really don't need a chair rail. And if you decide to change it, you can just replace those pieces and just make just regular boxes and the chair rail in the middle. So this is the first wall I started with, and like I said before, I wanted to do 2 on these smaller walls, but when I was done, I didn't like the look, and I'll show you soon. But drawing the lines, I would advise you to cut a piece of wood to the size that you want the space in, and you can use that to draw the lines at the top and the bottom, at the base and at the top. So you just do like what I'm doing now. Very easy. Then for your horizontal and vertical lines in the middle, you would use your spirit level. The design that I chose required a 4-inch space in between the boxes on the sides and in the middle. And then for the indents in, that's 7 inches, and upward it's 4 inches, which caused me to do a lot of cutting, and that is why it took so many days also. If they were just simple squares or rectangles, it would not have taken me that long. I think in total I cut about 160 pieces. So that's my design after I had, marked it on the wall, and then I taped it with a scotch tape just to see if I can live with it. And that's when I discovered that I did not like 2 boxes on the small walls, the smaller walls. On the larger wall, I decided to go with 3 large boxes, and these boxes were 50 inches in width. And how you get the size of the boxes is, say you decide on 3, it's the width of the wall minus the spacing divided by 3. If you have a TV, you're gonna come across mounting hardware, and I had to deal with this too. Forgive me guys, I was just too lazy to take the TV down when I was changing the room color to white. But you just have to do your design around the mountain. So after a lot of cutting, I started installing. Now I don't need my level here because I drew the lines. So my lines are what I'm using as my guide to make sure I'm nailing the strips on level. I had a tip earlier that said, get a low stool or something to sit on because you're going to do a lot of squatting. And my knees are shot, guys. I used to run a lot, long distance just for fitness, nothing competitive, not at all. But my knees are shot. It was so hard for me with this constant squatting and standing and squatting. One of the things I would also advise, guys, if your walls are perfectly, parallel, level, everything, you can simply glue them on. But I live in an older home, and there were situations where the top of a wall was, say, 84 inches wide, and at the bottom it's 82 and a half. I don't know where that inch and a half went, but foundations, they shift over years. So I had to do a lot of finagling is the word I think you would use here, and some of the walls weren't completely flat, so I had no choice but to use a nailer. And finally I painted out the gray. Now I'm not very confident with cutting, these little pieces. So I started by making a template out of cardboard, transfer that onto the molding, and that is what I would use as my guide. But remember, because of how my walls were, I had to, in essence, cut these pieces individually based on the wall that I'm working on. So once I get a little bit more confident, I would cut one end, and remember, you're cutting at 45-degree angles. Then I would hold it up onto the wall and mark where I need to make the other cut. And so it got much easier. Once I had all my pieces together, I would tape them in place, and then I would go in and use the nailer. Having done this, I can say I'm very pleased with the results. Here it is, guys. It has made the living room look so much nicer, I have to say. It looks really good in the rail, guys. I mean, for $400, I'm like, whoa. everyone that has seen it so far, not many people, because you know it's a time of that you can't allow, but it looks really good. I have to say, I'm very, very pleased with the results. I'm like, what took you so long? My favorite wall is actually this one because you can see the design. Yes, another thing you should remember too, some of your design is going to be hidden behind furniture. And I think this is one of the few walls that you could actually see the full design, which is probably why it's my favorite. This is where I had the sideboard. Looks great, but with the sideboard in front, you don't see much, but you know, it's there. Here it is with the sideboard, but still looks much, you know, fabulous. For those of you who probably don't know, the mirror, I made that mirror too. That's there. And this is the larger wall. So I've kind of shifted my furniture around somewhat. Very happy with the results. I think it works to enhance what little I had done before in terms of the fluted molding on the entrance right there. As usual, guys, I love to hear your feedback. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye now.